This was a vintage Stefon Diggs performance, Matt, winning literally all three levels, boundary in the middle. It doesn't matter. Stefon Diggs was there. He hasn't cracked 65% snap share yet. What?
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
Maybe the greatest catch I've ever seen.
There's just no question. In a primetime island game, Stefon Diggs in the revengiest of revenge games. I wrote about him for Yahoo, and man, I loved what I saw there against Carolina. And again, applying that to what we were going to see against Buffalo, I don't think Buffalo's a very scary defense, to be honest with you. And this guy absolutely came through. 12 targets, 10 catches for 146. He absolutely put the team on his back in regards to in regards to the passing game. Hey, listen, Drake Maye had a great game. I'm not taking anything away from Drake Maye. But bro, when he got in trouble, who was he looking to? And who was making plays? Along the boundary, in the middle, deep, short, underneath. Diggs was everywhere. This was a vintage Stefon Diggs performance, Matt, because this is a guy that was winning literally all three levels, boundary in the middle. It doesn't matter. Stefon Diggs was there.
Yeah. It was awesome to see Stefon Diggs in this spot. And, you know, obviously it meant a lot to him personally. He was fired up about it. You could see him on the sideline. And, everybody knows this. That follows reception perception, knows my work. I'm a longtime Diggs backer. He's a guy that I was really high on in Minnesota. That this guy could be an elite receiver. He goes on to be an elite receiver in Buffalo, and obviously things burned out there. You know, in the two sides parted ways. The reason that it was so exciting to see that game for me, because based on kind of the first few weeks of charting data, and I wrote about this, I believe, in the week 2 charting notebook, I didn't think it looked great for Diggs in isolation, which is obviously to be expected. He's a 30-plus-year-old wide receiver, and he's coming off a torn ACL from week 8 of last season. We are still, as we sit here right now, not even a year removed from this guy tearing his ACL. But it wasn't even just the way he looked. It was the way the Patriots were using him. I talked about this. He was not on the field consistently. He wasn't a full-time player in the first couple of weeks of the season. And he was running like a quick slant on 40% of his routes, like just a little quick in-breaking route. There was nothing downfield. There was nothing like explosive to his route tree early on in the season. And I'm like, is this all we're going to get? Like, I really hope this is not what we're seeing here for the rest of the season, because I really loved the Diggs signing by New England. Like, people panned it for overpay, whatever. I was like, man, you need a veteran in this room, and you need somebody that has proven his ability to help young quarterbacks develop, because you need to develop Drake Maye. By the way, Drake Maye is a freaking dude. He's so awesome. So like, we want to see that developed. And that's why I like the Diggs signing, because in Houston last year, he still showed not only could he beat zone coverage as a slot receiver, he could still win against man coverage. Over 70% success rate versus man and press coverage last year with Houston. So the first few results this year were a little disappointing. Then you get the week 4 game against the Panthers, where he sets a season high in route participation. Over 80% of the routes he ran in week 4, and they blew out the Panthers. So he didn't even really play in the fourth quarter, like late in that game. So really, even that number was misleading in terms of how often he was involved. So I'm like, all right, I got to go revisit the Steph Diggs film. And I just thought the film in week 4 was great. He showed an ability to really consistently settle against zone coverage. Him and Drake Maye's chemistry looked really nice, which is why I think it made sense for them to, number one, Diggs is just like the reason he goes from being a day 3 draft pick to one of the top, in my opinion, 3 receivers in the league during his peak is because he's a crazy person in terms of work ethic and, pushing and all of that. And like working at this whole thing, like working at the craft of the position. He's one of the best route runners in football because he works at the craft of the position. It's like, all right, well, he's already an outlier. Like, that's why he's out there, earlier than expected based on the ACL timeline. The other part of it is you want to build chemistry in camp. And even if he's not perfect in terms of his own play early on in the season, you want him getting those reps with Drake Maye in a live setting. And I think you could really see that then in week 4. Those guys are just always on the right page in terms of zone coverage. But there were a couple of plays in week 4 against Carolina where he runs against man coverage. I had him at an 80% success rate in that game, 26% of his routes, and he made some like explosive plays, snapping off at the break point. He had one like go route win along the boundary where Maye puts it on the right back shoulder. That was great to see. So that was like kind of what was building coming into this week 5 game. And then it just really exploded against Buffalo where he went crazy there.
I think, again, you talk about that chemistry. Again, when a play breaks down, where is Drake Maye looking? And then also, where is Stefon Diggs? You know, I mean, when the play breaks down, he knows where Drake Maye is going. And generally, it's going to be drifting off to his right. A lot of young quarterbacks like drifting off to their right. And you could see Stefon Diggs do whatever he can to get into the field of vision of his young quarterback. And again, making those plays along the sideline. You know what's scary, Matt? It's a player that has not cracked 65% snap share yet in Stefon Diggs. So yeah, you know what's crazy about all this is that he had obviously 2 tremendous games in back-to-back weeks, cracking the century mark there in weeks 4 and 5. But he played less than 50% of the snaps in week number 5. So this is a coaching staff that is still very much taking it slow, I think, with Stefon Diggs, because they're like, yeah, this guy's, I know he's a freak of nature, but he's over 30 years old. He's less than a year removed from an ACL. We're not going to try to load this guy up with crazy snap share. Less than 50. He played 48% of the snaps in week number 5, Matt. That is insane to me when you think about the impact that he made on that football game. So I think that is something to keep in mind too. It's just nuts. It's absolutely, he hasn't cracked 65% snap share yet. What? He's going crazy. It's awesome to see.
He was targeted on because he only ran 23 routes, sub 70% in terms of route participation. So actually a step back from the week prior. So that means he was targeted on 52% of his routes last night.
Amazing.
Over half the time he's out there. 23
Amazing.
targets, 12 routes. And I love your point about, like he makes plays in structure. And that's obviously great for Drake Maye because I think Drake Maye is really underrated in his ability to work through progressions and like read plays out and work in structure. But there is the creativity aspect of his game. And Diggs has done this before. Like this is how Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen, you know, I know there's always like a war of credit, you know, right? But that's those two guys. What I loved about that connection was they ascended together. You know, Diggs was already a star receiver in Minnesota, and Josh Allen was already an ascending quarterback the year prior to Stefon Diggs arriving there because he had gotten Josh Brown and Cole. I can't believe I just said that because I love John Brown. John Brown and Cole Beasley, and like he had already kind of taken a micro leap the year before. Like he was, and those guys were elevating him, and then Diggs comes in, and they both shoot up to elite status, right, from in the public eye. And like the reason that was able to happen was one, because Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen were obviously great in their own right. Diggs is also always open. He's even open when he's covered because he has great hands. We saw that last night as well. Underrated in terms of his ability, just catching the football, being at the right spot, and just timing the whole thing, just vice grip hands. So he's open when he's covered, but he's also the best separator. He has the highest success rate versus man coverage. His 2020 season with the Buffalo Bills is still the highest success rate versus man coverage season I've charted since 2014 to current. Like that's how good of a separator he is. So in structure, he's able to get open. And Josh Allen was the type of quarterback, because I had this conversation with Josh where he told me this. He's like, oh yeah, I tell Steph, like, it's a 7-yard route. You get open at 8 yards. I don't care. Just get open. I'm going to find you the football. So like that's part of the connection. But the other part of it was when Josh Allen goes into chaos mode, Diggs knows how to uncover and find grass. And that was obviously evident last night against the Buffalo Bills, where all of that, like that play and what's already happened, like the muscle memory of that is now just perfectly translated into, you know, Diet Coke Josh Allen or whatever, and Drake Maye. He's kind of on that same trajectory. So we'll see if Drake Maye ends up being as good as Josh Allen. Obviously, I think he's on an upward trajectory. He's a great quarterback. But yeah, he's already had that moment where he's helped grow a quarterback of this archetype. Now he's doing it again here in New England. I would just say like the difference in Steph Diggs' game between like what he was at his peak. Because I got this question last night, like, you know, you said like after he left Buffalo, he was a declining player. Do you kind of still stand by that? I mean, Yes, I do, because Steph Diggs is not like 2021, 2020 Stefon Diggs, where he's one of the 3 best receivers in football. But this is what we always talk about with receiver decline here at Reception Perception, is that guys can be in decline, and sometimes it goes off the cliff. Sometimes it's a steady sort of decline. I think Diggs has actually, in the 2 years since he left Buffalo, not lost anything, really. Like from the 2023 season to 2024 to now, he's basically stayed that same player, which is a diminished version from the elite player, where he was excellent at getting separation on like vertical routes on the outside. He's not quite there anymore, but he's awesome at everything else. So you're still able to be a high caliber, I think, number 1 wide receiver in this role.
Yeah, short and intermediate. If you could separate there and do those things, you're fine. You know, I mean, look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, and man, it's just, it's what Stefon Diggs did yesterday at Sunday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills was very impressive. It's the best that we've seen him in probably, ever since he left Buffalo at his absolute peak. Probably the best we've seen him in what, 2-3 years maybe.